I'm not even the biggest sports girly ever, but now suddenly I'm trying to wear number 5. Like, I'm trying to go to a game, sit courtside. Hi friends, it's me again. First and foremost, I'm going to apologize for the low energy I'm probably gonna have in this video. This past week has been so stressful at work, and then also I got approved for my own apartment. I'll be moving in May, so I've been trying to get little stuff together and packed in my apartment now. It's been exciting and stressful all at once, and I'm exhausted mentally. I just want to sleep all day. But since I have a bit of free time, I just wanted to go over the books I read in February and March. It wasn't much. February I only read 4 books, and March I only read 5, I think. So obviously your girl has not been reading. She's been clocked out and stressed as usual. But yeah, let's just jump into it. Starting in February, the first book I read was Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend when it comes to me reading Catherine Cowles books, because once I close them or end the audio, I completely forget what's happened. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like it's just been a stressful few months for me, but I couldn't really tell you what happened. All I remember is it's about Ren and Holt, I believe, and in the beginning they're together. I believe they're 18, and something really tragic happens to Ren. I believe they break up after that, and then Holt leaves town, and then years later he ends up coming back. So it is a second chance kind of romance, but after that I couldn't tell you what really happened in this book. It's completely just like out of my mind. I don't remember. But I do know I picked up the audiobook immediately because it was narrated by Zachary Weber. I don't have to explain what that man means to me. I really don't remember how I felt about this book at all, and that's kind of concerning. But you know, I read it, and yeah. The next book I read was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This has been on my TBR for literally ever. So this starts off super amazing to me because Emma is currently at a dinner with her fiance and her family, and then suddenly she gets a call from her dead ex-husband, who obviously she thought was dead because he was in like a helicopter crash a couple years ago, and then his body wasn't found, so they just presumed that he was dead. And it's been all these years later, and she's gone on with her life. Obviously homegirl's getting married to a new guy, and then suddenly he's back. So she's really trying to navigate her way through her current fiance and her actual husband she thought was dead. And it was very, very good to me. Like, I really ate this up. The audiobook was phenomenal. Some of it's kind of told in a past and present timeline, so you really get to see how Emma felt about Jesse, her dead husband, when they first started, because she had a mega crush on him. And then Sam, her current fiance, was one of her good friends, and he was obviously in love with her, but she didn't really do anything about it until they meet years later. I know who I wanted her to pick, and I'm glad that I ended up winning in this scenario because I always lose in a love triangle battle. But I thought it was a good choice and necessary for this kind of book. So I really, really love this one. Apparently it's becoming a movie. I will say watching the trailer is not at all how I felt while reading this book. It was very sad, very tense, emotional, and the trailer makes it seem like a Hallmark rom-com. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what happened, but y'all, I was so confused. Watching the trailer and there was all this happy music, I'm like, did we read the same book? Like, so I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, we'll see. So now I'm going to talk about the next 2 books, which were my favorite reads in February. We have Mile High and The Right Move by Liz Tomford. These are a part of her Windy City series, and the girlies have been raving about Mile High. So picking this up, I was super excited. It's a hockey romance. Xander's is a black hockey player, one of the best, so he's getting paid, okay? And Stevie is also biracial, so just seeing more people of color being represented in these kind of areas was really, really sweet. So Stevie is the flight attendant on the team's private plane, and she's gonna be with them all season. And from the jump, she cannot stand Xander's. Like, he really made it a point to annoy her because he noticed how much she was not into him, and he's very conceited, has an ego a fucking mile high, so she is not about it. They start off pretty rocky, but throughout the rest of the series, just seeing them and the little catchphrase that they have whenever they see each other in a place outside of the plane, so freaking cute. On the other hand, Xander's is NHL's playboy, and he's been really trying to live up to this image so that he stays on the team because that's what his agent has been telling him he needs to do. So it's very playboy reformed kind of vibes, which usually isn't my favorite trope ever to read. And in the book, it was done kind of like different, I'm gonna say. Like, I wasn't expecting it to take that form, but I thought it worked for Stevie and Xander's. I will say she is long. That's really my only critique about this one. And the third act conflict lasted forever, I felt like. I definitely enjoyed this a lot, and I see why people were eating it up and recommending it, but let me tell you, this one is literally one of my favorite books of all time. The way that I could not put this down, the way I still think about these characters, the way this is also one of my most tabbed books ever. Like you can't see that, but it's tabbed up, y'all, and I barely tab anymore, so that meant a lot to me. I kind of talked about this in my last video as well, so if this is another like spiel, then I'm sorry. But if you missed it, basically The Right Move follows Ryan, who is Stevie's older brother. He is in the NBA. And it also follows Indy, who is Stevie's best friend, who is also a flight attendant. Their story was set up really well in Mile High because Indy and her boyfriend of like 6 years have recently broke up, so she needs somewhere to stay. And Stevie asks Ryan if it's okay if Indy moves in with him. Ryan is very against it because he likes his space. He likes being by himself just because he has a lot of trust issues when it comes to people because he is a very famous NBA player. This one just had every single thing in it done so well. It's fake dating as well, which I wasn't expecting this story to kind of go, because you already have the roommate trope and forced proximity, so add fake dating on top of that and it's so spectacular. What really got me about this book was seeing how much Ryan did for Indy. The very, very small things really makes you realize how much you crave that from people in your life. Like in real life, it's not necessarily how much money you can spend on them, but what you can actually do, like the tiniest little thing. Like he knew that she hated hot coffee, like she doesn't like drinking it, so in the morning before he would go to practice, he would make her coffee and put it in the fridge for her so it'd be cold by the time she woke up, and then they'd switch making breakfast for each other. He left his house for her, which is unheard of basically, because he is the media's like golden boy, so he's trying to keep a straight head and trying not to bring too much attention to himself, but he's also talented as hell, so it's very difficult. Just seeing all the little things he changed about himself for her, I stopped reading this. It has one of my favorite quotes ever. Let me see if I can find it. I know it off the top of my head. What am I doing? This man looked at her and said, "I'm sorry someone let you believe you were hard to love because it's the easiest thing I've ever done." My nose is burning because I'm about to cry. Like, imagine someone telling you that. I took that very personally because I relate to Indy so much. So to have someone say that to you after going your life thinking that you were the problem or you were the hard one to love, I'm fine. Everything's fine. So this book meant a lot to me. I am so amazed with Liz Tom Ford after this, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series because it's about a single dad and he's a baseball player. So that's another thing I really enjoy about this series. Each book follows like a different sport. So you have hockey, basketball, the next one is gonna be baseball related, and I'm eating this shit up. I'm not even the biggest sports girly ever, but now suddenly I'm trying to wear number 5. Like I'm trying to go to a game, sit courtside. If you are willing to take any rec from me at this point, please let it be this one. I am begging you. It's so fucking good and I will not stop talking about it. In March, I started off listening to In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, and I really enjoyed the audio. It was so funny, and I thought the narrators really brought some of these characters to life, especially one character I'm gonna talk about who was the complete star of the show. But this follows Shay and Noah. Shay's grandmother or step-grandmother just recently passed away, and she left her tulip farm, but in order for her to receive that inheritance, she has to move back to the small town and be married within the year, which are obvious problems for Shay because her fiance just called off the wedding at the wedding. Like, he didn't even show up. So Shay's not feeling too hot. She's a little bummed, but she moves back to the small town that she grew up in and went to high school in. And Noah also went to the same high school and had the biggest crush on her, but never did anything about it. So she ends up running into him, and he's this big farmer kind of guy, you know. He has recently become the guardian of his niece, Jenny, and y'all, she was the most adorable little girl I've read about. She was funny. She had a cussing problem, so me and her were instantly like this. She completely turned this book around for me because when I first picked it up, I was like, okay, cute, small town vibes, but just getting that aspect of a child who is also neurodivergent and is struggling on her own with her uncle, like, it was so cute. And just seeing their relationship, him kind of stepping into this dad role, was so freaking sweet. Having Shay step in to help as well because she's a teacher, I believe, was also really precious. I really enjoyed listening to this. I swear to God, I was cackling out loud at how funny Jenny was. Like, she is amazing. My literal niece at this point. I have claimed her because I love her so much. I will say I do think I would prefer listening to it as opposed to reading the physical book, because there were some moments where I got a little bored, but the audio helped me a lot with that, so highly recommend that one. Next, I listened to Timid by Devney Perry. This is the second book in the Lark Cove series. I have so many mixed feelings about this one because I liked it a lot at points, but then other times I was like, basically, it's about Willa and Jackson. Willa has had the biggest crush on him, and he literally does not pay attention to her. He can't even remember her name. It's definitely an unrequited love book from the girl's end, which I'm always kind of wary about, because I feel like if a woman in a romance book has to chase a man, I have to adjust my mindset a little bit. This one was interesting because Jackson believes that he's been dreaming about this girl, and then he sees Willa and he's like, oh, you're the girl I've been dreaming about. When really what happened wasn't a dream. Like, it actually happened, but he was kind of not present mentally because he was under the influence, so he completely forgot about their encounter, and that also rubbed me the wrong way because I'm like, bestie, I've been under the influence. You can't remember that you did that with her? Okay, it was an interesting tactic to get those two together, I will say that. I was just so up and down about my thoughts because it had its good moments, but also like the third act conflict, I literally laughed out loud. I was like, okay. So I don't think it was a bad book necessarily. It would probably fall in like my 3-star ranking, but it wasn't my favorite. I just think the unrequited love and then Jackson being Jackson, it didn't really sell me that much, but I am going to continue with the series because I heard the next book is the best. A lot of people's favorite, so I am super excited for that. Ooh. So next up, I read Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borison. This has been on my TBR since I don't even fucking know at this point, but I finally listened to it and I really enjoyed this. It was such a cute rom-com, because you know how some of these books are marketed as rom-com and it's like you see what they were trying to go for, but it's not giving rom-com. This gave rom-com, like so funny. The plot and everything that happened literally just reminded me of like a Christmas Hallmark movie, and I love that for me. Stella runs this tree farm and it's not going well for homegirl. Like, everything's falling apart. So she enters this contest to try to win the grand prize of like $100,000, I believe, to save the farm. But she lied on the application saying that she ran the farm with her boyfriend so that more people would be like more attracted to come to that venue. Like, it's a cute romancy holiday kind of tree farm, right? Problem is, homegirl's not dating anyone, so enter her best friend Luca, who she actually has a big crush on and she's never done anything about it. He offers himself up pretty quickly to be her fake boyfriend in this scenario. So they agree to fake date, which is obviously, you know how that goes. Not only did I love them, but the side characters in this as well. Y'all, it's making me so sad that I started this and didn't just binge the rest of the series, because it's all I've been thinking about. Like, I am so obsessed with all of these characters, and you can already tell the found family vibes are already there, which I really like. You get a lot of that in this, and just knowing that these characters get their own books and there are more characters coming in as well. I really, really like this, and I completely understand why Berkeley picked up the series, which is phenomenal. I am so happy that the books are going to keep coming out published, even though my covers are not going to match, but it's fine. Then I listened to Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. This is the 4th and final book in the Red Zone Rival series, which I completely loved. This one is my second favorite in the series. I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was phenomenal. You have Mary and Leo, who actually went to, I think, middle school or high school together, something like that. They formed an online friendship through video games, so they never met. Like, Leo played football, so he was still the popular kid, and Mary felt like she was not pretty and he would judge her, and that they were just kind of from two different worlds. So one day she finally gets the courage to introduce herself in person to him, and it doesn't go well at all. He fucking sucked. Years later, they both end up in college together, and Mary has some issues with her home, like she has to move out while they try to fix up these damages, and Leo offers up his place to Mary to stay. Now, mind you, he still does not know who she is, because obviously it's been years later and she's had like this complete massive transition, so she's hot as fuck, right? And he's obviously into her, but she fucking hates him because of what he did to her in the past. Like, he has no idea that they were once online friends, so it's kind of like a secret identity trope, which was really interesting in the series, and I really, really like this book. Their relationship was so cute, so hot. He was mad attracted to her and she was just like, yeah, fuck you kind of vibe, and I loved her for that. Like, she was such a baddie. It makes me sad that the series is over, but I'm glad that it ended with this book because I fucking loved it. It was so so good, and it makes me just want to reread the entire series. My number one is still Blindside, followed by Hail Mary, and then Quarterback Sneak, and then Fair Catch. So really recommend this series. Lastly, I got an arc of Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate. This is part of the Salacious Players Club series, and y'all know how I feel about that. I miss this universe so much. It's just something about it that's so comforting to me, because it's about such taboo topics, but it's a safe space for these conversations and these activities to take place. So picking up those books is always super fun for me. This one's about Ronan and Daisy. Ronan is one of the owners of the club, I believe. He's super fucking rich. That's all you need to know. Like, this man is dripping in money, but he's like 56, right? Very old guy. Hot. Daisy is 21, so this has a 35-year age gap. It's the biggest age gap I think I've ever read about, and yeah, it really tested me, I'm gonna say, because sometimes I forgot about the age gap, which is good, but then other times it was so apparent where I was like, this guy is literally 56 and she's 21. The story itself was kind of intriguing for me, because Ronan used to be in like a secret affair with Daisy's mom, and then they had to cut it off, and Ronan ends up giving Daisy's mom like a lot of money going towards Daisy's college fund or whatever, and then Daisy's mom ends up passing away. So Daisy has always wondered where this money has come from and why this guy named Ronan has sent it to her. So she decides to move to California, working at Salacious, trying to get the tea on Ronan before she decides to tell him that she is the daughter that he donated money to, right? Then it gets tricky, because one night at Salacious, they're doing their auction and Daisy gets on stage and Ronan ends up bidding on her. So that's how their relationship really starts. Very interesting, very taboo. Like, imagine dating a man that your mom dated. This one was kind of iffy for me. I felt like the pace was extremely fast. It's very insta-lovey, I will say that. And I didn't like some of the things that happened towards the end. I just wanted like a bit more, especially because Ronan is known as a pleasure dom, so he gets off on getting other people off. We love to see it. Daisy is more so into the pain aspect of pleasure, and he hates doing that. So I really wanted to see a bit of development within their sexual chemistry, just because they're kind of polar opposites. So to me, at times it just felt like they weren't compatible, but they were still so in love with each other so quickly. I don't know. I think I gave this one like 3.5. I just didn't expect this book to go like that. I think in my review I mentioned that this didn't even feel like a Salacious Players Club book. Like, we rarely got to see any of the characters from the previous books, which I was kind of bummed out about as well, but I mean, it's no big deal. It's not like I docked it stars because I didn't see other people that I've already read about. It just kind of, I just wanted to see them. So yeah, unfortunately I wasn't super amazed by this like how I thought I was gonna be, especially because there is a huge age gap. Like, I will never get over that. Always check trigger warnings when you go into these books, but especially for anything taboo, because y'all, the boundaries are pushed. So just protect yourself. And that is it. Those are all the books I've read in February and March. Like I mentioned, I am constantly stressed. I'm getting so many gray hairs, y'all. But once I get through these next few months, I promise I'll be back in better spirits. I'm getting my own place, you guys. Like, it's a place all by myself. I don't have to worry about my roommates coming in, being there when I film. Like, I can stay up until 3 a.m. if I want to, just talking to you guys and screaming about books like how I used to. And I cannot wait to get back to that, because even filming this like right now just lifted my spirits a lot. But I've already started buying decorations and stuff. Like, y'all are gonna love my library office area I'm setting up. I'm super excited and I can't wait to show you. Bear with me these next few months. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough, but y'all know we bounce back eventually. As usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Mwah.